Welcome to the Deep Dive. I am your host, and today we are looking at something that affects basically all of us.
Yeah, glad to be here to break this down. It is a really important topic for anyone working in an office right now.
Right, because we are diving into a fascinating chapter, and it is simply titled Editing Layer Mod 3 Pod 3 docs. And our mission for today is to explore this crucial, honestly, often completely overlooked final step of using AI for professional writing.
Exactly. This is that danger zone, that phase right between getting an AI-generated draft and actually hitting send.
And I just want to say to you listening right now, if you use AI to draft emails or memos or policies, and I mean, let's be real, you probably do, this deep dive is going to save your professional credibility. We are going to show you exactly what invisible flaws to look for.
Because the flaws are there. They're just really well hidden.
Yeah, they are. And to find them, we first have to, fundamentally change how we think about the act of editing itself.
Right. Which brings us to the whole paradigm shift in editing. Because editing AI output is a fundamentally different task from editing your own writing.
How so? Like, editing is just editing, right?
Well, no, because think about it. When you write a draft yourself, the content, the underlying thinking, the context, all of that is yours. It came from your brain.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So when you are self-editing, you are really just looking for polish.
Yeah.
You are fixing awkward phrasing or maybe tightening up some run-on sentences.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, editing my own work is like detailing a car I built myself. I know the engine works, I just need to shine the hood. But editing AI is like inspecting a car built by a robot. It looks like a car, but I have to lift the hood to make sure it actually has an engine.
Yes, exactly. I love that analogy. It looks perfect on the outside, but you have no idea what is actually going on under the hood.
Right, because it wasn't built with any real understanding.
Exactly. AI tools are, at their core, just pattern-based text generators. They generate this really well-structured, competent prose that sounds incredibly professional.
It does sound professional, almost too professional sometimes.
Yeah, but sounding professional and being professionally ready are two completely different things.
Yeah.
The AI doesn't know what it doesn't know.
It is just guessing the next word, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which means you, as the human reader, have to adopt this highly active, deeply skeptical posture. You can't just skim it.
Okay, so if we have to be skeptical detectives rather than just proofreaders, we need to know exactly what crimes the AI is actually committing.
We do. And the source material gives us a great framework for this.
Right, the 5 critical checks. Let's get right into part A of those checks, which is all about facts and context. What is the first thing we are looking for?
Check number 1 is factual accuracy. Because AI very often states things that sound entirely correct, but they just aren't.
The classic hallucination.
Exactly. The source gives some great examples of this. An AI draft might confidently cite, Joint Commission standards or, quote, current CMS reimbursement rates.
And it uses that highly authoritative language, right?
Right. It sounds totally legitimate, but it is entirely fabricated. It just made it up because those words statistically belong together in a healthcare memo.
Wow, so it is just stringing together jargon that looks right.
Yeah, so every single factual claim has to be treated as provisional until you actually confirm it.
That is terrifying. Okay, so once I have verified that the CMS rates are actually real, what is the second check?
Check 2 is organizational context. Because even the best AI in the world does not know your organization's history.
It doesn't know the office politics.
Exactly. It doesn't know the dynamics. The source gives this really compelling example. Imagine the AI writes a perfectly structured memo proposing a new workflow change.
Sounds great so far.
Right. But it completely misses the fact that a very similar proposal was rejected 6 months ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be bad.
It would be a disaster. If you send that memo as it is, you look totally out of touch. You have to reframe it to acknowledge that history.
But wait, here's where it gets really interesting. Couldn't I just put all that history into my initial prompt? Like, just tell it about the rejected proposal.
What's fascinating here is no matter how good your prompt is, you can't capture every unwritten norm or internal relationship.
Really? Even with a super long prompt?
Even with a massive prompt, you alone hold that context. You know that Susan in accounting hates this idea, or that the last time this was brought up, there was a huge shouting match. The AI just cannot grasp that human nuance.
That makes total sense. We are basically the keepers of the context.
Exactly. And this lack of context doesn't just apply to the history of the organization. It applies specifically to the unique human beings who will actually be reading the document.
Which perfectly transitions us into part B of the framework, looking at audience, tone, and completeness. So check 3 is audience appropriateness.
Yes, and this is where people trip up all the time.
Because we think we can just prompt our way out of it, right? Like I tell the AI to write for a clinical audience and it just spits out generic clinical language.
Right, it gives you the vocabulary of a clinician, but not the reality of one.
The source has these really vivid examples like the AI won't know that specific nurse managers are already totally frustrated and overworked.
Yeah, they don't need generic clinical speak. They need a really careful, empathetic approach.
Exactly. Or like the AI doesn't know that your CFO absolutely hates long paragraphs and prefers everything in 3 bullet points.
The AI is going to write a 5-paragraph essay for a guy who is going to delete it after the first sentence.
Yes. Or it doesn't know that the compliance officer expects very specific regulatory citations regarding patient privacy, or they won't even look at the proposal.
The AI writes for an avatar, not a real person.
Right. Okay, so that brings us to check number 4, which is tone calibration.
Tone is so tricky because every single healthcare organization, or really any company, has its own unique communication culture.
Like some are super formal, right? Very hierarchical.
Yes, very buttoned up. But others are completely flat and really conversational. People just shoot off quick, informal messages.
So what happens when the AI writes it?
Well, AI defaults to this kind of generic, middle-of-the-road professional tone, and that might completely misfire in your specific environment.
If you send a stiff, highly formal AI email to a boss who usually just texts you emojis, it is going to look so weird.
It looks robotic. It breaks trust.
Yeah, it really does. Okay, so we've checked the facts, the context, the audience, and the tone. What is the 5th and final check?
Check 5 is completeness relative to purpose.
Wait, what does that mean?
It means an AI draft might have all the right sections, like an intro, body, and conclusion,
Right.
but completely miss the actual point of the document.
Oh, I see. It's like baking a structurally perfect cake, but forgetting the person eating it is allergic to flour. It looks right, but it fails its actual purpose.
That is exactly it. It checks the boxes, but fails the mission. The source grounds this in some great workplace examples,
Like what?
like a staffing justification memo. The AI explains the problem perfectly, outlines a great solution, but forgets the literally one thing the vice president is going to ask.
Which is, what does this cost?
Exactly. If the budget isn't there, the memo is useless.
Right. Or a policy announcement, right. The AI outlines a timeline for a new rollout, but completely forgets the staff's main concern.
Yeah, the staff just want to know, how does this actually affect my daily workflow? Am I going to have to do more paperwork?
If it doesn't answer that, it's not complete, no matter how long it is.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to be honest here. Checking these 5 things, facts, context, audience, tone, and completeness, it sounds completely exhausting to do every single time I use AI.
It does sound like a lot of work.
How do we practically build this into a fast, reliable habit? Because if it takes me 30 minutes to edit a draft, I might as well just write it myself.
That is the big question. And it starts with a psychological shift. We have to overcome confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias, how does that play into this?
Well, when you are reading your own writing, your brain naturally sees what you meant to say, not what is actually on the page.
Right, you fill in the blanks automatically.
Yeah. And with AI, because the formatting is so clean and it looks so professional, your brain wants to just agree with it. It wants to say, yep, looks good, let's hit send.
So we have to fight that urge.
You have to assume something is wrong or missing. You have to actively hunt for the failure points.
Okay, so assuming it's broken, how do I find the broken parts quickly?
The source gives 2 very practical strategies. Strategy 1 is the 2-read method.
Okay, 2-read method, what are the 2 reads?
It is exactly what it sounds like. You read it once strictly for substance. Is it accurate? Is it complete? You ignore how it sounds entirely.
Just hunting for the facts and the logic.
Right. And then you do a second read exclusively for audience and tone. How will this land? Does it sound like our culture?
By splitting it up, you don't get distracted by the pretty prose while you were trying to find a hallucinated number.
Exactly. It forces your brain to categorize the review process.
I like that. But what if I am really rushed? What is the second strategy?
Strategy 2 is focusing on the highest stakes sentence. You locate the single most important sentence in the whole document and scrutinize it heavily.
So what does this all mean in practice? How do I find that highest stakes sentence?
Well, the source gives a great guide for this. If it is a recommendation memo, the highest stakes sentence is the recommendation itself.
That makes sense. What about an announcement?
In a policy announcement, it's the sentence describing the actual change. In an email to leadership, it is the ask. What are you actually requesting?
The bottom line.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, get that one sentence right first. If it's wrong, nothing else in the document matters.
Wow. If the ask is vague, it doesn't matter how beautiful the introductory paragraph is.
Exactly. The whole document fails.
You know, developing this instinct, this ability to spot that fulcrum sentence and check it, it really becomes a highly valuable professional skill in itself.
It really is the new writing. Editing is the new drafting.
Which brings up the final and honestly the most crucial point of this whole discussion, why you absolutely cannot afford to skip this step.
The ultimate responsibility.
Yeah. Let's talk about the temptation. Because when it's 4:45 p.m. on a Friday and time is short and the AI draft looks, good enough, the temptation to just hit send is huge.
It is so tempting. We have all been there.
You just want to clear your inbox and go home.
But this raises an important question. Whose reputation is actually on the line?
It's a great question. Because it's definitely not the AI's reputation.
No, it's not. The source has a core warning here that I think everyone needs to hear. AI tools are drafting partners. They are not co-signers.
Oh, I like that. Not co-signers.
Right. They produce raw material. You, the human being, produce the final product.
And the consequences are entirely yours. The sources scenarios really drive this home for me. Like, if the memo has an inaccurate statistic, the AI doesn't get called into the boss's office.
No, you are the one asked about it in the meeting.
Wow.
You have to explain where that number came from.
Right. And if the policy announcement creates a bunch of confusion, the staff doesn't email ChatGPT. They come straight to you.
They're knocking on your door, asking what is going on.
Yeah. And if that email strikes a weird, arrogant tone, it's your relationship with the vice president that is on the line. The AI doesn't lose any social capital.
The AI does not care. It doesn't have a career to ruin.
Yeah.
You do.
So this editing layer, this process we are talking about, it is totally non-negotiable.
It is your shield. It is the only thing protecting your professional identity in an automated world.
So to wrap this up, if you want to separate yourself from someone who just blindly copies and pastes AI output, you have to master this editing layer.
You really do.
You have to bring the factual rigor, the organizational context, and the audience awareness that only a real human can provide.
Because right now, that is the actual value you are bringing to the table. The machine can generate the words, but you provide the judgment.
Well said. And that leaves us with a really provocative final thought for you to ponder.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately.
As these AI tools inevitably get better and better at mimicking human sentence structure and flow, will the ultimate human skill in the future workplace no longer be the ability to write?
Crazy shift to think about.
Right. Will the core skill actually become the empathy and political intuition required to edit?
Honestly, it seems like we were already heading there.
It really does. Something to mull over the next time you are hovering over that send button. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We will catch you next time.